Welcome to another episode of Bennington Made. I'm your host, Matt Harrington with the Bennington Chamber. We're here in North Bennington, about to walk in and find out how the spirits of Old Bennington make their new distilled gin and rum. We're very excited. There's a new enterprise here in Bennington. We're excited to go meet Keith, but first, I have to figure out how to get off of this covered bridge. North Bennington here. How did you start with the idea of a distillery here in Bennington?
So it started about 10 years ago. Took a trip to Scotland, loved the stills, got really excited about the distillery tours, and just started kicking this idea around in the back of my head. Wow, that would be awesome to have one day. About 2 years ago, put together a business plan, tried to figure out what I would need, and started looking for a space, and Bennington really fit what I wanted, and then I found this great mill. This space was raw, it was completely empty, and kind of gave me a blank canvas to put together what I wanted. But we had to put together electrical, sewer, all the infrastructure in here, so it was a long process.
So you're about to take us on a tour, but talk to us a little bit about your key products that you're working on right now at the distillery.
So right now we have covered bridge rum, made and bottled here, and working on some gin recipes and some whiskey. I can show you our whiskey fermenting in a little bit. So we're going to have a series of gins to go with, and then hopefully by Christmas we'll have the whiskey ready and start bottling that.
Great, let's go on the tour.
Great. These are the ingredients that we start with to make our spirits. So our rum is a Caribbean fancy molasses. Very sweet, excellent for cookies, but makes a wonderful rum. The gin, we're flavoring the gin with coriander, juniper berries, and angelica root. You want to take a sniff of that and smell what so that's a heavy hit of what our gin's going to be. It'll be a little lighter once you have the spirits in it. And then our whiskey is a wheat whiskey. So we have red wheat from over in Northampton, or Northfield, Massachusetts, two-row malted wheat and corn, local here from Vermont. So we're going to put this together, mash it in, ferment it, and then we're going to age it in barrels, new oak barrels for the first batch will probably be about 6 months. We'll be ready for Christmas.
Great.
This is the mash tank. We're going to go and heat up our grains, put in ground corn, wheat, and the malted wheat has the enzymes in it. So as you heat it up to 160 degrees, those enzymes are going to start to break down all the starch into sugar. So what we're trying to produce here is sugar water. Okay. We're mashing all those grains together, and then we'll strip off just the water, sparge through it like you would making beer. So the beginning of this is nearly the same process as making beer. Once we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and put it in the fermenters and put some yeast on it. So we just got started with the batch here yesterday. This is our yeast bubbling up on the fresh wort. So the yeast converts all the sugar into carbon dioxide and alcohol. So you're seeing the carbon dioxide bubbles coming out.
And how does it lose the carbon part and keep the alcohol? Is that kind of what the process that we're doing, or how do you?
So you're breaking glucose down, which is the C8 molecule, into OH, which is alcohol, ethyl alcohol, and carbon dioxide. So your carbon's leaving as a gas, and your hydrogen and your oxygen are staying in as your alcohol.
So did you have to have a chemistry major to do all this?
I have a biology major, not a chemistry major.
So that helps. That helps.
It does. I understand
a lot of probably reading. Once you came back from your trip, I'm sure there was.
Yes, a lot on how you're going to make a spirit, what flavors you're looking for, and that's why we went with a wheat whiskey instead of like a bourbon. Okay. It's a little smoother, and I figured it would be an easier spirit to start with and kind of get people into what our whiskeys are going to be, because they're going to be young. Okay. A bourbon, you're going to need a little longer to mature. Sure. So after we finish up here, we're going to run it in the still. This is a pack column still. So this section here on top is full of copper wool. It redistills as it goes up, and you have copper in there to react with the sulfur and take some of the chemicals you don't want out. And then there's a cooling system on top. That's going to help you set your final proof. Vapor is going to come up through the arm, and then this is your cooling here. You got cold water, so it's going to condense back to liquid. So you're going liquid to vapor to liquid. Most everything that comes out of your still is going to be clear. This is a bit of tails left over from the last whiskey run. The tails you strip out at the end, you'll put them back in and redistill them on the second run. So we do 300-gallon batches here, take off between 10 and 15 gallons of spirit, depending on what we're running. But this is a nice system because I can run the 3 different products I have on the same still. Whiskey, I want to run at 140 proof, so I'll run it a little faster, and I'll be able to set my proof down to 140. The rum is higher, up at 160, and the gin usually over 170 when we run it.
Very cool. And so that time frame is obviously different based on what you're trying to make. So again, you were saying, what's probably the fastest product you can turn around, and then what's your slowest? What's the thing that has to age the most? Yeah,
so the rum's going to be our fastest product. The molasses ferments so fast because you're working on pure sugar.
Okay.
So we have to dilute the sugar down because it won't be so concentrated, and then we can do that in maybe 3-4 days, get that to ferment, and then put it in the still here to run. The whiskey's going to be our longest lead. You're going to run it in 4 to 5 days as a fermentation, and then you're looking at 6 months to 2 years on aging. Yeah. So we do have our first barrels started here. We're putting them in 30-gallon oak barrels. The charred oak gives you your flavor and your caramel color, and you get the reaction between the wood and the spirit to give you a nice dark whiskey. We went with 30-gallon barrels versus the 53, which is a standard barrel. These will age a little faster because you have more contact with the wood. Yep. So we're hoping that this will work for our first small batch in 6 months. We'll know by Christmas.
And when you were kind of flavoring, you said part of the process is really deciding about what you want in there to discern your flavor, I'm sure, from anybody else.
Yep.
What to you kind of stuck out, or what is Spirits of Old Bennington really trying to capture in the flavor?
So I'm trying to do something that's a short run whiskey. I don't want to have to wait 2 years for someone to be able to try it. So as I tasted whiskeys through different distilleries that I've been to, I found some of the wheat ones really came out much better younger.
Okay.
So that kind of pushed me that I want to go with small barrels and a lighter whiskey that's something that's drinkable in 6 months but still has that nice whiskey flavor.
Any flavoring that you're finding, that really is part of the Spirits of Old Bennington taste, or kind of what are you putting in terms of certain?
This is our first batch, so it's trying to understand. Yeah, and it's really a trial and error process on whiskey to really find how your flavors are going to mix on what you want, and then how your water is going to react and what your barrels are going to do. So that's why a lot of whiskeys are blended, because barrel to barrel you're going to get variation. Yeah. And I'm going to try to barrel a series of single barrel whiskeys just so people will start to see that, batch 1 I got last month is going to be different than batch 2. Yeah. And we're batch labeling all of our bottles and hand numbering them. So you'll know, hey, this was a batch 1 rum, this was a batch 1 whiskey. You're probably not going to get that exact same flavor again. And that's the thing with a small craft distillery, is you're going to have that variation, product or month by month on what it does.
Which is kind of the neat part. So it's not, it's not like the big guys that are, every time you taste this whiskey, it's going to taste
Correct.
The same. Yours is different, so it's almost customized to the actual.
Yeah, you're gonna see a fluctuation season to season, because in the summer you're gonna ferment a lot faster because of the heat. Okay. In the winter you're gonna have a slower fermentation, a couple more days. Yeah. You're gonna see a little difference in flavor and color. So everything's here is hand bottled. We got a 3-bottle filler. Nest the bottle underneath and get it filled. We just ran through and bottled some rum this morning. Another 90 bottles ready to go. Then put the corks in them, hand label them, get them out the door, put them in boxes.
Yeah. So when they actually go in there, they're ready to go. They've done all the aging.
So we're gonna proof the spirit down. So when we're running, the gin's coming off at 170, the rum's at 160. To sell it, we're gonna put it at 80 proof in a bottle. So you're gonna add water and very precisely set it to 80 proof. And then once we set the system up here to bottle, we're bottling 80 proof rum. So right now we have our Covered Bridge rum that we're doing tastings with on the weekends. You're going to get a fruit nose, more tropical fruits, some banana in there, yeah. And then you're going to have a nice soft finish.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming.
It's good.
All right. Stop by and visit.
Yeah.
We really love this space. Trying to rebuild this old mill, and the dam is now providing power for us. We're net metered off the new hydro plant that was put in here.
Okay.
Plant's doing like 1.6 gigawatts of power per year, and we're using a little bit of that to help make our spirits. We'd love to expand, putting a bigger tasting room and some retail space or something down there, and really utilize this whole building. We're only utilizing about half right now.
So you've just learned how the spirits of Old Bennington is made right here in Bennington, Vermont. Another great episode of Bennington Made brought to you by the Chamber of Commerce and Cat TV. Make sure you stop on by, talk to Ken, come out for some of his tastings, try out the new rums, the vodkas, all the good stuff that they're making here. Thank you again for joining us on another episode of Bennington Made. Tune in next time.